Hello and howdy, everyone. Welcome to the Team Next Level Coaches Roundtable podcast. I'm Greg, and I'm happy to have you all along with us for this, our first episode. Today, I'm joined by three of our coaches. Guys, just give a quick hello so the listeners know your voice. Coach James.
Hi.
Coach Marilyn.
Hey, guys.
And last but certainly not least, Coach Rich.
Hello.
All right, first off, just a little background. We're a growing multi-sport team based out of northern New Jersey, just outside the New York City area. We got a lot of good content planned for you via this podcast. Ultimately, we're here to help you get some useful info out of it. For you, the multi-sport athlete, or you, maybe the athlete just thinking about multi-sport, or even you, the person looking for motivation to start your athletic journey. But today is all about us helping you get to know the team, us, the coaches, a little bit better. So before we dig into the meat of the episode, everyone having a good week so far? How's the training going?
It's nice. A recovery week from you, so... And I put that in quotes because it's still a lot of running.
Yeah, as a quick disclaimer, I coach James as well. So if he's angry, that's the reason.
Not as angry, but training's going well. It's nice to be in the base phase or just kind of training for life kind of period of triathlon season.
Same, just relaxing, coming back from an injury. So taking it easy on the run and focusing on my cycling. So far, so good.
I saw a little 1.6 today, was it?
Yeah.
There you go.
Getting up there, little by little.
Getting serious.
Slow and steady wins the race, right? All right, so our first little segment here, I thought it would be nice to give you an idea of a little bit of the story behind Team Next Level. So one of the things you might hear us bounce back and forth between is Team Next Level Physio, and that's because the team was born out of the physiotherapy clinic here in Woodcliff Lake. We, most of us, all of us, were patients here before we were on the team.
Still am a patient.
And so that's how we all came to the team. And so you're going to see a lot of overlap between the vision and mission of Next Level Physio, and that's at our team Next Level. It's kind of informed and driven the goals of the team. So James, can you give us like a little, 1 or 2 minute synopsis of the Next Level Physio mission?
Sure. So Next Level Physio, we have a 3-phase process that we call Move, Excel, Inspire. And that's the patient journey, or we say our client journey, when we progress them through their physical therapy sessions with us. It starts with Move, which means we want to get them out of pain. We talk about a full body reset, alignment, getting their posture set up correctly, and just laying the foundation. From there, we progress to the Excel phase, where now we're strengthening, stabilizing, securing joints, just getting people to be able to go back to regular daily activities. And once we're set there, then we finally progress to the Inspire phase. And Inspire is where whatever your goals are, whether it's run a marathon, do a half Ironman, full Ironman, just returning to sport, we want to get you there and achieve those goals. We want you leaving experience Next Level at a stronger, better, faster state than when you first came in, and achieving the things that you didn't believe that you could achieve. So that is kind of the clinical side. And then we want to apply this as well to the team side in the multi-sport. So there's a lot of analogies there. Move, you might be new to the sport. You've never done anything there. You might not be able to participate yet. So we're trying to set that foundation, get you involved, learning new things. And then when you get to the Excel, that's kind of where you're building more base, learning skills, setting the routines, getting to a rhythm. It's becoming part of your lifestyle. And then it inspires, like, now you're competing. Now you're achieving things you've never thought you could, and just doing that hopefully as the team. And I think that's what's really unique about our team, that we do a lot of stuff together. We've had this journey together. It's so far been a really, really great experience.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of similarities between the way the clinic handles that Move, Excel, Inspire idea, and then the kind of stuff we see within the team that does that. We kind of meet you where you're at. We've got athletes of all different levels, from people competing in their first race of whatever kind it is, whether it's a 5K or an Ironman, all the way up to phenomenal athletes who are competing for Kona slots. And we see that kind of progression through the Move, Excel, Inspire thing with those athletes across the board. Marilyn, it's kind of funny. Like, you probably don't remember this, but the first time I met you was on a group ride. It had to be 2 years ago, probably.
Yeah, that's probably when I started. Yeah.
Right. And I remember riding behind you, and I've been cycling for a long time, and so I felt very comfortable sitting on someone's wheel. And Marilyn looked back and kept looking back and kept looking back. And she's eventually like, you can go by me now. And it was just, you could tell that just she was a little bit anxious about having somebody right on her wheel, and didn't quite know how to move yet on the bike.
Uh-huh.
And then, over the course of the last 2 years, you've become one of the leaders of this team, and just, you inspire the hell out of the group with what you've done, and just, you go from barely, like, I know you'd ridden a bike before, but
yeah, but not like that.
Not like
I was
that,
like,
right?
Who's this guy twice my size riding on my wheel?
So, and within a year and a half or so, you finished your first half Ironman. You did your second one this year, and now you're helping coach for us.
It's a great group. Yeah.
And for listeners who don't know what we look like, Greg is, what are you, 6'2"?
I'm 6'2", pushing the Clydesdale range. Not quite, but maybe after
Marilyn, how tall are you?
I'm 5'1".
So there, imagine that 6'2" guy on a 5'1" person's
I
wheel.
had to be close to get a good ride, otherwise I was just wasting my time. So we've got a good group of people here. We're happy to kind of bring on lots of new people who have all across their athletic journey. Wherever they're at, we kind of meet them there. And I think if you asked anybody on the team, they'd agree with that. Anybody else have anything to add to that? Anything that with the team, kind of the move, excel, inspire ideas or anything?
I mean, I think it even applies to just how our friendships have grown on the team too. Because I mean, I think for 2 years ago we started swimming at Hackensack. Rich was swimming with us for I don't know how many months. I didn't say a single word to you the entire time. I didn't even know who you were.
See, everyone says that about Rich, but he was the first one to talk to me, like out of you guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Going up a hill on 9W, we're both suffering up. That was my first ride, I think.
It was like the first ride, and it was like the most difficult one. And I just remember, and I was on a tri-bike.
Yeah.
It was just so hard to climb that hill. Yeah. It's an interesting group with all kinds of abilities, and everybody just supports each other, which has been amazing.
Yeah, and then just like the friendships have really grown. Yeah. We like to hang out outside of the team, and whatever chance we get to do something together, it's definitely like the highlight of my weekends when we have our group rides.
Sure, it's fun. Yeah,
feels like a community.
Yeah,
we definitely built a good community. So I think that did a good job of sort of giving everybody an idea what the team's like, and some of the things we offer. Hopefully, we're going to bring some of that stuff to you guys here in the podcast. No matter where you're at, if you're local, cool. If not, hope you listen. We offer some extended range coaching or team membership. We got people who join in for our virtual group rides and stuff like that over the winter, and will meet us up at races and stuff like that. So with that, we'll kind of roll right into just kind of getting to know us, your hosts, a little bit better. So I thought maybe what we do is just sort of talk about some of like our athletic journey and what brought us to here today, sitting around this microphone. So let's share a little bit about your kind of athletic background growing up. Like what was childhood like for you guys with respect to sports? I think a lot of us have some kind of story about that thing that kindled your love for athletics in some way. And some of us, it happened when we were 5 or 6. Some of us happened when we were 35 or 36. Mm-hmm.
So I started out kind of playing different sports in all seasons. I was playing, soccer, baseball, basketball, and I wanted something consistent. And I had like a community martial arts school that I started attending. And before triathlon, I was doing martial arts for 25 years.
Oh, wow.
And then life changed, and I started running, and I was running with a buddy, and I was complaining about how much running just was like so much all the time. It's just running. And he's like, well, what about, can you swim? And I said, yeah, I can swim. I swam as a little kid. And he's like, what about, can you bike? I'm like, well, I biked as a little kid. And so he's like, all right, well, let's go, go.
It's exactly the same.
Does everyone have that friend? Like,
I might have been that friend.
And, I went to like a bike shop and he was like, here's one bike or the other. It was a Trek and a Cervelo. And I'm like, oh, well, I'll go for this one. And I got a bike and then I got in the pool. I was living in Manhattan at the time and I started swimming and biking. My first race was in 2011. It was the Rev 3 Quasi. I was doing Olympic and that race was an eye opener. I was like, I was a decent swimmer, but I panicked in the water and that's a common thing for a lot of people. And I was like last out of the water and thought I was like DQ'd. But, after that, I just started to build more confidence with the sport and actually, spent a lot of time trying to get myself, healthy and spent a lot of time, injured as well. And actually coming here to Next Level Physio, working with the, real, athletes who were also physical therapists, they got me into the right mindset and the right training and the right ability to start actually getting into the sport and actually performing it. It only took a decade, but it happened. What about you, James?
Oh, me. Well, I wouldn't say I was ever athletic. I mean, I played little league sports and was on a, middle school basketball team, but never a star. So, it wasn't until I'd say, unless you consider a high school golf, but not very athletic either. So yeah. I didn't do any of this kind of endurance running. It's terrible. But it wasn't until maybe my late 30s. I think we just had our second child and I was, overweight at the time. I was over 200 pounds and I was just like, man, I got to do something. Like I wasn't doing anything at all. So I think I found a program on the internet. It was a strength training, a 5x5. So I just got into strength training first and I was just doing squats, deadlifts, bench press, and just getting stronger, which led me into like CrossFit. And so that's where I kind of discovered finally like fitness and the active lifestyle. So I was really into CrossFit for about.
Is that where you got hurt the first time and ended up here?
So that's actually a long story. So yes, CrossFit has a bad reputation, but the data doesn't back that up. It was a flawed study from what I understand. But I was actually probably in my fittest shape at the time. I had lost maybe 25 pounds. I was doing like competition program, really drank the Kool-Aid. I was like really into it. And then I just like happened to be at a barbecue from the gym and they were playing this game called Hoover Ball where you take it was like a 25-pound medicine ball and you throw it over a volleyball net 2-on-2. And
it doesn't sound like any barbecue I've
ever I wasn't even supposed to play. I was just like,
I'll throw you a beer.
Yeah. I was just lounging in the pool, and then the guy's partner didn't show up. They're like, "Oh, James, you want to play?" I was like, "All right, let's play." And then like we make it into like the finals, and then all of a sudden, I remember just a ball. I went to go run after. I caught it like over my shoulder, and then I planted my leg. Like it landed, like I caught it, leg was extended straight, and I just felt this big pop. It was like the loudest pop ever. Ugh. And then like I just like fell like a sack of potatoes to the ground. Man. It didn't hurt, but it just like really surprised me. I was like, what's going on? And then, I get up. I keep falling back over again. Long story short, I tore my ACL. That's how I became a patient at Next Level where, I met Jerry. My rehab afterwards, when I was done, I think first he signed up for a 5K, the Hillsdale Hawks 5K. I just got an email one day and it's like, oh, congratulations for your, he just signed me up. So like, all right, well, it's in my town. I can just do it. Jerry is the owner and founder of Next Level, and he's notorious for getting people to do things that, maybe he detects like an inkling of curiosity, and he'll just pounce on that. So signed me up for a 5K. I do the 5K. Next thing I know, I'm signed up for West Point Spartan, and so this is, I think, I did like 8 months of rehab. I do the West Point Spartan with him. I just we put on a knee brace. I go, and I'm like, oh, I've survived. I'm like, I guess, now I'm like thinking about, I'm going to do some more Spartans. So for the next couple of years, I'm doing Spartans, do, the trifecta, do the Killington Beast. But I'm like, these obstacles are so dirty and like, I'm so tired of like going underwater in the dirty. So I'm like, I think I like the trail running parts. And I get into trail running. I started doing some trail races. And then I just realized, I think I have some endurance base, and this is when Jerry's finally like, I think you should try triathlon. I was like, I don't know how to swim. I haven't biked since I was a kid. He just gives me one of his old bikes, comes to my house one day, tells me to start biking, and then tells me to get swim lessons from John, and then the rest is history. So now, like, I'm deep in this sport, and it's like perfect for my personality, because if you look up Jack of all trades, master of none, like my picture is in that, because I never go into something very deep, but I like to just do a little bit and be like good enough at something.
You're well-rounded.
You're well-rounded.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I just don't finish things. I don't know. But triathlon kind of keeps my attention span, because I can always like focus on something different. Like right now, I'm focusing on running.
Changing, right?
Yeah, so it keeps me interested. So as long as I don't get bored of swim, bike, and run and training in general, this will hold my attention for a while. So that's my history.
That's Greg's task.
Yeah.
That's my job. That's my job, is to keep you motivated. So I'll go and then
go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
I wasn't going to tell my entire story, but these guys went deep into it. So different from the two of you guys, I have been an endurance athlete my whole life. I was not really good at ball sports. I was okay enough, like you said, little league, like that kind of stuff. But I'm a loner. I'm a homebody. I didn't like team sports. So I gravitated towards individual stuff, things that I could, if I didn't do well, it was because I didn't do well. If I did well, it was because I did well. So early on, I had an affinity for the pool. I swam competitively from about 8 or 9 up until high school. And then I burnt out. I burnt out on staring at the black line for 10 hours a week, 5,000, 6,000 yards at a time, doubles sometimes. And I got sick and tired of it. So I stopped swimming in college, got into the gym, got a little bit bigger, but never really like loved it. Like I was keeping in some kind of shape, but didn't love it. And then I'd always wanted to do triathlon. It's funny. I can remember that I used to get Sports Illustrated for kids back in like the 80s, and it would come in my mailbox and
amazing.
Like, you got it too, Rich?
Yeah, I think so.
So they had an article. Now that I'm thinking back on it, and I know a little bit about triathlon history, it might have been after like the Iron War in '89 at Kona, when like 2 guys ran the marathon next to each other. And they did an article on Iron Kids, and it was this, little splash and dash kind of thing for kids. And I'm like, I want to do that. Mind you, I sucked at running. Still do. But, so I was like, that kind of sparked it. And that was always in the back of my head. I'm like, I always wanted to do it. And anytime I tried running, I got hurt. Like we said before, I'm a bigger guy. We just have to be more careful with running. And I wasn't. I was like, okay, if you want to run, like go out and run. I just didn't know anything about the sport, of how to get started. So weightlifted a little bit in college, got a little bit bigger. And then when I stopped weightlifting, that size stayed with me, but the muscle didn't. And after college, I tried to get back into, again, you tried to use triathlon as a motivator, tried to start running again and didn't. But what I did do is fell in love with the bike. And I found a good group of people to ride with consistently back in the early 2000s. And for about 5-6 years, I rode a lot. Most years I rode my bike more than I drove my car.
Wow.
That was always my goal. Like, I want to put more miles on the bike than the odometer.
Awesome.
Raced a decent amount in kind of this area, local crits, some stage races out of town, time trials and stuff like that. Really fell in love with just riding my bike. And then about 2010 or so, just got a little bit burnt out on that. Family life started happening, get married, buy a house, like all the stuff that comes with being a real adult. And stepped away from sport for 4 or 5 years, got a lot heavier, and then kind of got that kick in the butt of like, gotta do something. I don't like looking at myself in the mirror like this. And I just didn't feel good. Like, we just had some kids, and I wanted to be able to just do all this stuff with my kids. So that's when I got into triathlon and I learned about it and took the running really, really slow. Like, just slowly ramped myself into it and got injured. And that's what brought me in the next level. So, but I learned how to fix the problem. They taught me, they did a great job of teaching me like how your body's supposed to move, how I was moving and what I had to do to fix that. And now it's just trying to get better, trying to learn as much as I can, trying to help other people learn what they can and help them get better. All right, Marilyn, your turn.
So I always, like my mom says, you're always running around sweaty. And I was always running. I played basketball in high school. Not running as in track running, but just playing and anything that involved running. I never just ran. So then I was always doing something different. 11 years ago, I had my third baby. And I went back to work, and a customer at work, she was asking me how you feel, this and that. And I was like, I'm not happy. I feel great, but I'm not happy with how I look. Like, she's like, oh, well, you've had 3 kids. She basically was like, you're done. Like, you'll never, like, you'll be fat forever.
It's a terrible thing.
In not so many words. And those who know me know that.
You fat too.
Yeah, like she was like, oh, you've had 3 kids. Like, forget it. Like, you'll never have a waistline, blah, blah, blah. And those who know me know I don't like bow down to a challenge, right? So I went home that day and I was like, I'm going to prove her wrong. And I've never seen her again, actually.
After you strangled her?
But, yeah.
Do you know who, you know her, right?
I don't know her. She
Okay.
was like just a customer, and yeah, and that was what she basically, I was like in shock when she was telling me. She was
your fairy godmother.
Yeah. And I talked to a friend. She's like, oh, I know this Pilates instructor. You should go take a class with her. And I started taking a class with her, and she was my inspiration. Like, just about how, first of all, that woman knew nothing and how to build muscle and how to get in shape again. And so I was taking classes with her for about a year. And one day, out of the blue, I needed water before class, and I ran about 2 blocks to a CVS for a big water. And when I got to the register, I was like, that felt really good. And so I started before class running, like first I would run for 10 minutes, then I would run for 12 the next week. And I started building up that way and started loving running. Then I would run to class from my house.
How long of a run was that?
About a mile.
Okay.
And then it just started building from there. I made friends with people who ran, and I started running, and that was it. I was hooked. I started doing races, and then I got injured, and that's how I started coming to next level.
You did some marathons, right?
I did. I ran every length race, 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons. I've done 2 marathons, probably like 12 or 13 half marathons between road and trail. And I've been injured quite a few times. So since John met me from day one, and Jerry, they're like, oh, you should do triathlon. And I was always like, no way. I want to tie my shoes and run out the door. It's
kind of funny that all you guys sort of had that same.
Yeah.
I mean, Rich, you jumped into it, but almost drowned on the way in.
I was coming here, and I said to Jerry, the owner of Next Level, I said, you have 2 months to deal with all of the injuries that I've been dealing with for years, and if I'm not better, I'm done with this. And he got me way better in 2 months, and said, we swim at this place. You want to come swim with us? Come swim with us. He's like, oh, and we also bike out of here. You want to come bike with us? Come try it a few times. And that's what it was.
Yeah.
Same.
So I always said no. And then my final injury 2 years ago, when I kind of met all you guys, I broke my ankle on a trail run and was coming here for therapy to Next Level. And John was every visit. He was like, oh, what about triathlon? What about triathlon? And I couldn't run for about 6 months. So I started cycling. And my cycling was every week. I was going up. He'd be like, how much did you ride this weekend? And I was raising my mileage. And when I was finally able to run again, he's like, you're going to give up cycling now? And I was like, well, no. And here I am.
How'd you get into cycling?
Because I couldn't run. And I knew that would help me. I was so worried that my run would be terrible after so much time off. I just started cycling, and any way I could, kneeling on the floor, sitting, I was doing strength training.
I was just wondering if John planted the seed to cycle in
knowing the cycling was me. I was on my indoor bike with my boot on, cycling.
You set a clip up to that, like a.
Yeah.
Click
and boot.
Yeah,
that's a thing.
Somebody's got
it.
Right?
They have 2 boots in. Better off
because
like ski boots into.
For sure.
And what about swimming?
Swimming, I had never swam competitively. I could swim like everybody can, and that was tough. I was still coming here for PT for my ankle, and I would come in and tell John, this is not for me. I'm meant for land, not water. And he would say, just stick with it, you'll be fine. And, sure enough, it's definitely not my strongest, but you get through it.
Maybe for our listeners, we should clarify who John is.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we keep saying John. Dr. John Mendenhall II.
Yep.
Is the director of Team Next Level. He was one of the people who got it off the ground back in 2018. And he has recently relocated down to the Research Triangle area of North Carolina with Dr. Jerry to open up some Next Level physio clinics down there. So he's not with us up here, but he is with us in spirit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he's definitely the mover and shaker who got things going for all of us.
Sure.
And if I remember correctly, he was a D1 swimmer in college,
He was.
accomplished athlete, and then was looking for something afterwards and fell in love with triathlon and has gone on to World Sprint. I forget which competition he.
So he definitely did Olympic distance nats, qualified for Worlds there, and then I think COVID shut that stuff down.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he ever actually got to go compete. And then he kind of stepped up pretty quick to the iron distance stuff.
Yeah, he's done multiple Ironman.
He's done 2 sub-10 hour Ironmans.
Sounds like a guy we should have on this podcast.
Yeah.
Maybe our next guest. Who knows?
Yeah. When's he back in town?
Next week, right? For the
Oh,
ride.
yes, for the
60-something mile
MS ride.
Yeah. A bunch of you guys are doing that, right?
No one here.
We did the other one.
We did the 100-miler, and we were like,
Okay.
yeah, that's good for this.
Once you go 100, you don't mess.
But a bunch of other people on the team.
Yes,
we are
lots of
doing
people
a
on the
ride,
team are
which
doing
is
it,
great.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we always find a challenge to do together.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's something that I don't want to say separates us from some of the other groups, but we don't just do, it's not all about triathlon all the time. We usually pick a couple of races to really key in on, but then we all did a big century ride around here and had a blast doing that, extending out our ride fitness a little bit. We're going to do a bunch of running races in the fall with the turkey trot season coming up soon.
Mm-hmm.
And just stuff like that to keep us active, keep us moving before next season stuff needs to start getting built up. So, that was a good job giving everybody an idea of kind of how we got here. We all have, a couple of similarities between all of our stories and some differences. But we keep coming back. Like we all keep coming back each weekend. We all, have text chains going with each other talking about what we're going to do next and all that stuff. What is it that keeps you guys coming back? Like what keeps you motivated? What kind of 1 or 2 things are your favorite thing about whether it's multi-sport in general or our team in particular or, just James's smiling face all the time?
Yeah, that's what it is every time. So I've been doing this for a while, and sometimes when you're training for endurance sports and triathlon, a lot of that time you just spend on your own training. Like you're on that bike alone, you're on that pool alone, and you're running alone a lot of times because you spend just reaching your goals. But
wait, that's what I love about this sport.
Yeah.
And I think as I got into the community and the friends that I've built here, it really was like a community feeling. It felt much more motivating to come to like the group rides and come to the group swims and come to the group runs, and it felt better to do that. And one of the things that is great for me is usually I was waiting for something to start hurting on a run, and when I would run with you guys and the team, I would feel great, and I would finish and I'd be like, oh, nothing hurt. It's because I wasn't inside my own head.
Yeah.
So that's been really great for me. It's just a community of like-minded people trying to get better.
Mm-hmm. So for me, I think it's very inspirational and you feel kind of like, well, I have to go out and run because I want to be able to stay with the group and do all these things with the group and the races that we do. So it kind of motivates you to keep going. And as far as staying in the sport, for me, I'm like so fueled by competition. That's what I love. So I'll train so that I can compete as best as I can.
So was that
That's what I love.
loss at the PB Tri Relay a crushing
It hurts. It crushes me. And to find out that it was printed in the paper.
Yes.
James, you want to give a quick synopsis of what that is? That we're just the listeners.
Right. So we,
Excellent.
next level, we were able to bring back a local race, the PB Triathlon. It was held for many years before this from one of the local residents, Bo Petkovich. Life, COVID, things got in the way that he wasn't able to do it. And finally, we were able to bring it back this year. So part of the race was that you could do a relay last minute. A lot of us were volunteering to help the event go. Last minute, we decided maybe we should do a men versus women relay and bragging rights competition. And then, our group loves the competition. As soon as we kind of, threw down the challenge, immediately the women were like, they're in. And
it was so fast that I thought everybody except me was in on this whole thing.
Right?
And then we find out they were on a Zoom call with John, and John was going over strategy. We went dark on Strava to not hide our workouts. It was intense, and I was actually very nervous because I didn't run. I'm not very confident in my run, but it was. The men prevailed. Marilyn dropped the chain, unfortunately, which that was probably the dagger because Greg was on the bike. Rich ended up getting a lead on the swim, so I just had to not blow up, and luckily I didn't. But now it's next year we have to start training now.
I think they're recruiting.
I know. You might want to take me out, and I think there's better options now. Definitely some other members on the team, but at least we get this started. I think.
Yes,
maybe it's a bragging right.
Maybe we can pass it on to another team that'll do a challenge.
It might have been the most exciting race of the season.
It's definitely the most fun.
And it was a short race. We've all done half Ironman, and this was a 300 meters pool swim, 10-mile bike, 5K run, and there was more adrenaline in this. I think I never you guys know my heart rate never goes above blue green. When I was in full yellow red the entire
for the
race.
first time.
Yeah, I was whoa! I don't know what this feeling is, but
good times.
Yeah, good times.
That's what we're about. Good times.
Yeah, that's definitely what keeps me coming back. Is it's fun. When that alarm goes off at 0 dark 30, there's definitely thoughts of, maybe I'll just go back to sleep. But if I know I got 6 or 7 or 10 people waiting for me on a ride, can't let that happen. Can't let down the group. And, that gets you over those little, this is a sport that I've learned that you constantly go through these fluctuations in motivation. There's times where you're on cloud 9 and there's times where you're in the basement and you're just I don't want to do anything. But if you have a good group to help bring you up from there, and then realize that when you're up at the top, you're helping bring somebody else up. I think that's where the group really shines. And I think any group potentially or could have that potential, but this one just does a good job of it every day.
Yeah, 100%.
And I think that we all also don't take ourselves too seriously most of the time. And then when it comes to the events that we do or whatever we're doing, we know when to turn it on and off.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I love about you guys and coming back to this group is we go out and we have fun. And then we know that if we're training for something, we know when, to turn it on and be serious about something really specific to us or to our team.
There's no egos and
no.
Yeah, I think this year Muscle Man was a good job of that. We all, how many of us went up there?
A lot.
8 or 9 of us went up to the Finger Lakes region in New York for Muscle Man 70.3. And I don't think I worried about my race until I stepped across the timing mat. Didn't pick up my time, but until I stepped across that timing mat. And then I, being with the group, let me just enjoy myself up there. And that was an absolute blast.
That's because I was asking him a million questions that he couldn't focus on his own race.
Rooming with you must be
Yeah, Rich and I roomed together for Muscle Man. And we're rooming together again for
absolutely
Eagle Man this June.
Yeah.
So all right, so I think anybody else have something to add? I feel like we did a pretty good job of getting getting the listeners to understand a little bit about who we are, what we're about, and what our team is about.
I want to thank you guys because it's really enjoyable to get together and do pretty much anything that we put our minds to or do together at all.
Well, I think you're going to be seeing a lot more about each other because based on our goals for the next possibly 2 years, that we'll be spending a lot of training time together.
Yay! Has Rich bought into our 2-year plan?
I haven't seen the 2
And he
years.
doesn't have a choice. He doesn't have a choice.
It's a hard sell, but
he doesn't have a choice.
It's so easy to twist my arm.
And for people wondering, the genesis is, Marilyn already had this 2-year plan apparently, but Greg also had a 2-year plan.
Seems like we thought about it at the same time, sort of, and yeah.
So the 2-year plan is full Ironman in 2 years. Next year will be 2 half Ironman.
Yes.
Right.
And
so
then
it'll be the first year where anybody's doing 2 in the same season.
Right.
And then with the goal of building off that the season after and experience all that is Ironman.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
2 mile swim.
That's the thing
that
that worries you?
about the marathon.
That is what worries me.
God, Marilyn.
That is what worries me.
Just curious, isn't it 2.4?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, like our coach John said, you'll be
You'll
fine.
be fine.
You'll be
Yeah,
fine.
you'll be fine.
That's
It's our
what we'll
team
put on our
motto.
shirt.
That's,
You'll be fine.
that's our team motto. You'll be fine.
All right. So I'd like to thank everybody for hopefully sticking with us this whole time. If you made it this far, hopefully you like what you heard. Give us a follow. Give us a subscribe, thumbs up, 5-star rating on whatever podcast app you like to use. And we'll be trying to bring this to you a couple times a month and bring you lots more multi-sport content. So thanks everybody for listening. Have a great day, and we'll catch you next time. Bye, guys.